you going?
How are you?
Good. Michael.
Michael.
How you going? Michael.
Mike Rosoff?
Rosoff, that's the one.
So you've come about the office management job.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Just give me like a little...
I've actually been a part of office management now for 26 years. I'm kind of a 24/7, 365 type of guy. I have lost count of the amount of offices I've worked for, and that's in many, many different countries. You name an office, I've pretty much worked there.
What are the skills you've developed over those years?
Meeting facilitation, backup and storage, app development, web design, making sure that people can collaborate on the same documents and presentations and projects without even necessarily being in the same room or even the same country. You don't even see me moving. I'm absolutely paranoid about security. I will check every email that comes across my desk, from the big emails down to the what's for dinner tonight, and not in a creepy way.
What about weaknesses? Any weaknesses?
Fluids, actually.
Fluids?
What do
you mean fluids?
Just any fluids in, near or around me.
Interesting. Now, look over here, and I see you've know quite a lot of languages.
Over 70.
Over 70?
Correct.
Wow. Okay.
What are your salary expectations?
$18.70 a month.
A month?
A month, yeah.
It's just a bit over $20,000 a year salary?
Well, no. So $18.70 a month.
Oh.
I mean, I'd honestly do it for free, but I mean, I've got bill to pay, you know, so.
This is Kiwi dollars?
This is Kiwi dollars, Kiwi cents. I feel like you might be kind of maybe honing in that this might be a little bit too good to be true. I have to come clean now. I'm absolutely covered in hidden cameras. What? I've got one here on my watch. I'm actually the physical embodiment of Office 365.
Thank you, Steve. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining our session. Yeah, so Kate and I are here to talk about the real Kiwi Digital Workspace. First, I just wanted to start with, what is a digital workspace? Well, fundamentally, right, it's about empowering the people in your organization to do more, right? It's about giving them the tools and information they need to be successful in their role. And by people in your organization, I'm talking about people like this, right? Good-looking, hard-working Kiwi men and women, right? Getting stuff done. I mean, look at the productivity in that room, Kate. What do you think, Kate? Is that where the real Kiwi Digital Workspace is?
No, so that's not what we see, Toby. So what we actually see from the clients that we chat to is that actually we have people out and about on construction sites, like just over there. We have people, the road warriors that Steve was just talking about, out and about in farms and sales yards. We have people, clients that work in retail organisations all over the country. We have people on ships and ports, manufacturing, one of my favourite products. And we have people in remote fleets and vans and trucks delivering products and services all over the country. We have people in care homes, working in care homes, care workers. We have scientists conducting research out in the field, in this case quite literally. And we have a lot of tertiary education clients where people are delivering lectures to students. And if you're anything like me, and including on my taxi on the way to this event this morning, you'll be doing more and more work from your car. So I'm often dialing into conference calls from my car so I can work in with different time zones and things like that. And sadly, yes, I'll even do some work when I'm on holiday. So sometimes I'll just check in for 5 minutes here and there just to check that things are going. But the technology that's available in the Kiwi Digital Workplace means that I can do that quite easily and I don't come back to work to a big pile of emails.
Sorry for emailing you on your holiday.
No, you're not.
All right, so let's talk about the success factors, right? So, it's clear that we need digital workspaces to function in all kinds of different environments and situations in New Zealand. Right, but what are our clients doing to make their workspaces really successful? So when we look at it, there's four main things that they're doing. They're making them really easy, right? So, as a person in an organization, don't make me go to 5 different systems in to get something done, right? Or to find a different person to try and find out how something works. Make it really easy for me. The other thing they're doing is making things very available, right? So it's great to have things easy in the office, but if I can't do anything when I'm outside of the office or I'm working in the field or at home, it's not very productive, right? And so clients are really starting to figure out how to make things available. They're also focused on security, right? So ease and availability doesn't mean too much if all your information is at risk and people don't trust the digital workspace. And lastly, they're focused on making things really smart. So taking advantage of some of the newer technologies to create a really, really personalized experience, right, in that working environment. So I'm going to dig into each of these four a little bit more. So let's talk about easy. So hands up here who has a really easy staff onboarding process in their organization, right, where it's really well organized. Anyone here? Yeah, a few. That's good. That's good. So that's good. Yeah. So this is a process that's typically extremely hard and is really sort of begging to be made easier, right? It typically involves lots of paperwork, getting people to sign contracts, as well as giving people access to various systems, giving them a laptop, a cell phone, and access, and so on. Right? It's quite a complex process, and if people move around in the organization, that can be challenging as well. And then if people leave, all of that's got to be undone, right? So it's quite tricky. And so a solution that we created for Ryman Healthcare for their hiring managers is where we basically automated the vast majority of that process. So hiring managers could come in, fill in a simple form, and then the system would take care of providing the contract to the new employee so they could sign it away from the office. And it gave them access to the systems they needed, and it also put them in their learning management system. So they actually, on their first day in, they got the health and safety training, and they got the training they needed for their role. So it was really, really powerful. Another easy solution we created was for New Zealand lotteries. So they have a retailer onboarding process that, it's not extremely complicated, but it does involve a lot of paper, site visits, and so on. And it's a little bit tricky to track the progress and communicate with the retailers. And so we took all of those forms and put them online and created something that the retailer could use on their iPad. They could half finish it and come back later. They could attach information they needed to. And then at the head office, there was a really easy to use dashboard where New Zealand Lotteries could track the progress and communicate, right? So just taking that sort of complexity and the paper out of the process. It was really, really effective. All right, so let's talk about available. So, like I said, easy is great, but if I have to be in the office to do these things, it really puts a halt on productivity. So we do a lot of work in the rostering space, and this is something that can be quite, a challenging process to organize. But part of that process is, if you're being rostered, is to be able to access that roster remotely, and being able to do things like accept your shift or request shift swaps, right? So being able to do this when I'm, on the beach or on a mountain bike ride or just in the evening, and making that really easy just keeps the whole momentum going around the process, right? And that's due to being available outside of the office. Let's talk about security. Now, it doesn't seem like there's a week that goes by when we're not seeing, some kind of security breach in the news, right? I mean, a few weeks ago it was that Equifax breach, if you read about that. But there's been many, many more. And when I research these and look at some of the root causes, a lot of it has to do with single points of failure in the organization around IT systems, right? So it's often there's a part of a process that hasn't been followed, an individual hasn't applied a certain patch to a certain environment, and so on. And moving to the cloud essentially takes all of that complexity away, right? That base level of kind of hygiene and expectation around firewalls and security is taken care for you. And just a really good example that we created for Silver Fern Farms is a solution called Pasture. I think really captures the sort of easy, available, and secure parts of the digital workspace. So this is a solution it's a mobile solution. So their field staff, there's about 85 field reps they're called, and they can go out and work with farmers, literally in the field at the farm table. They can work offline. They have all the information they need around that customer. And they can do things like securely sign contracts right there and then. So very, very effective. And lastly, okay, let's talk about smart. So I think we're all, generally doing a good job these days of putting our information, our documents into online systems. I mean, we use Office 365. We never use Dropbox or anything like that. But, and I still send the odd email around with the odd attachment, but generally, right, we're putting things online and we're sharing things pretty well. I think, the challenge with that is that if Kate creates something really interesting, I never get to know about it unless she shares it, with me, or, I find it somehow, right? So, that's a big sort of miss in that kind of knowledge gap, right, around what Kate's doing that could be interesting and useful for me. So there's some new technology that's part of Office 365 that is really, really exciting. And because what it does is it looks at my network at work, and it understands who I connect with mostly, and it starts to surface information to me based on that network, right? So every morning I come in, and I can see, oh, what's Alistair been doing? What's Katie been doing? And so on, right? And so that's being surfaced to me automatically, of things that might be interesting, right? Which is really powerful because it's not just happening for me, it's happening for every person in the organization, right? They're getting that knowledge, right, every time they come in. So it's much, much different, much more powerful and a personal experience than your sort of historical intranet type setup. All right, Kate, why don't you take us through a little bit more around what's in the toolkit?
Cool, thanks Toby. And by the way, the stuff that I work on is always interesting, just in case you were looking. So we have a bunch of tools available in the toolkit, thinking about them being easy, available, secure and smart. Some of them, Steve, if you were in the session just before, Steve would have touched on, and I'm going to, I've picked a couple that I think are really relevant for the Kiwi workplace. So Steve talked a little bit before about Dynamics 365. So for me, it's a really great set of technology to get started with in your journey to the digital workplace. So there's tools for customer relationship management, for financial management, for resource planning. But a relatively new tool that I particularly like is Dynamics Field Service. So this is all about managing your staff out and about in the field. So you can hopefully see from the screen there, this is all about having the right person at the right place, with the right job, with the right equipment at the right time. So hopefully being able to delight your clients by having this technology available to you. A particularly cool thing that I like about it is that if you've got connected devices, say fridges or containers or different things that might be needing some sort of maintenance, we have a client in the South Island who uses this for wheelchairs. This here will actually let you know if there's some problems and can have someone sent there on the way to get them solved, delighting your customers again. So that was field service. Now another one, and we've heard a little bit about bots today, that Lemonade story that Fraser shared this morning, which I think is pretty cool. We've got some concept ideas for bots, and we're hearing more and more demand for them. This one in particular is for a tour company in the South Island. So I can ask this bot in any language, if I'm Mike, and ask what tours are available at a given time of year, and the bot will go away and tell me and actually help process that financial transaction. But makes it nice and easy, and it feels like it uses natural language, so it's not like I'm talking to one of those bots that you might imagine from early on in the 2000s. So these bots, no longer are they like a 2 or 3 year project that they might have been a little while ago. These days we have the building blocks within Azure that we can use to get us a whole bunch of the way. So developers are delighted because they're doing the things that they're really talented at, and they've got those building blocks to work from in advance. So something that we're really proud of here is an award-winning an app that we built for the New Zealand Fire Service. So it's the mobile response app. So the idea here, and I can't see anyone from NV Interactive, but we work really closely with the team at NV Interactive to really get into the hearts and minds of first responders and make sure that they had critical scene information as they're responding to events, and that might be from other emergency services as well. So it means when they get to a site, they have all the information that they need and at the right time, etc., etc. This is the sort of technology that's actually helping to save lives. So still thinking about this idea of building blocks within Azure and some of the tools that we talked about before, Dynamics 365, Office 365, we have a solution, an enterprise content management system called Cohesion. Some of you may have heard of us talk about it before. So these are some of the clients that we've had using it. We have a cloud offering for that, and the idea being that it brings the best tools and technology from Office 365 and other tools, augments it with a little bit of our IP, some of our templates, some of our approaches for making sure that the adoption and change management is considered, and brings it all together into one nice place. We know that in the Kiwi workplace, a lot of organisations have to be Public Records Act compliant or need to respond to Official Information Act inquiries. No longer do you have to fill in 28 forms or fields as you're uploading something. This technology has the smarts behind the scenes to do some of that for you. So we're pretty excited about this. So Toby talked a little bit before about Snap, so our Digital Workplace Accelerator. This is my favourite feature that we have available within Snap, so using this idea of artificial intelligence. A lot of Kiwi workplaces don't have communications teams or dedicated teams that are curating content for these workplaces. So the idea that the machine can learn the things that I really care about and present them to me is really quite powerful. But this here is bringing those documents, the tools that I use, and they may not be Microsoft tools, they may be linking off into different systems that are not Microsoft. And it will also give me the idea of what's been trending so I can see what's been happening around me. And again, all of these things are considerably quicker to develop than what they have been in the recent past. So what's coming up?
Thanks, Kate. All right, so I'm just going to have a couple of slides talking about some of the newer trends that we're seeing in the digital workspace. So the first one is something called activity-based working. Is there anyone here who, working in an activity-based working environment currently in there? Apart from
Not Intergen people.
Okay, so it's something that's really, I think, taking the workplace by storm, to be honest, in New Zealand. And we've been working in this way for a couple of years at Intergen. And what it's about is, rather than having fixed desks and formal meeting rooms, right, where you have your desks, they're pretty much sort of 60, 70% at most, being utilized. It's about taking that sort of unused space and saying, let's create some really useful breakout areas, huddle areas where I can take Skype calls and so on, right? And being much more collaborative around the space. And, the digital workspace is supporting that kind of working, right? With really good uses of Skype and OneNote and Office 365 to support that kind of team collaboration. So if you haven't looked at ABW, I'd definitely recommend that you have a look at it. The other thing is starting to have some, really smart meeting spaces. So I don't know about you, but when I still come into a meeting room and need to set up the technology, get the Skype call going, the projector's not working, and those things. So coming into a meeting room where it essentially knows who you are, it sets the call up, sets the lighting up, right? It might even order your coffee for you, right? Is really sort of revolutionary in making things more productive at the office. The other area is the HoloLens. I'm not sure if you got to play with it at NV's stand, but it's been around for a couple of years, and it's really taking off in in certain industrial verticals, I guess. Not so much in the consumer space, but things like the construction industry are really starting to adopt it. So being able to look at plans and models and in 3D and still interact with your colleagues is really, really powerful. And the other industry is the medical industry. So we're seeing, adoption of the technology in things like diagnosis and looking at scans, but also in a learning environment. So being able to look at three-dimensional models and interact in a classroom setting is really powerful. All right, what's happening at Calder Stewart?
Cool, thanks Toby. So Calder Stewart's a client of ours in the South Island, and if you take a look at this picture here, you can see there's a whole lot going on. There's stuff being delivered, there's stuff being constructed, there's vehicles, there's containers, there's a whole heap going on this construction site. And looking around me, there's a whole heap going on around here right now. If you can imagine dozens of sites like these around the country, imagine the kinds of processes and what have you that would need to support this kind of company. So Calder Stewart had a problem. So we have been working with them for a little while on helping them install Dynamics AX, and that's their financial system. They use that for a bunch of things. But if you can imagine people that work on sites like in those pictures, they're often covered in dust, they're covered in concrete. They don't really want to have to learn, or shouldn't really need to learn, a whole financial system. But they want things that are easy, available, secure and smart. So we came up with this concept in working with NV Interactive again, of site apps to make complex processes simple. So if I'm a site manager, a man or woman, or a site worker, basically everything that I need to do my job is presented to me on a nice touch-friendly mobile app. The idea being, again, using those building blocks within Azure to get started, so it's a thin framework using these building blocks, and we can add, so talking about Simon's idea of quick time to value, we can very quickly deliver value as we incrementally add these additional services. And I'll just touch on a couple of ones that we've done recently with Calder Stewart. So invoice approvals, obviously not everybody's favourite job, but if you can imagine the volume of invoices coming into both the Calder Stewart head office and every construction site that they would have, being able to approve those and being sure that they actually meet the previously agreed purchase order or any other arrangements is really important and critical for payment, obviously, for those subcontractors and suppliers. So you can see here we've got the site app. It's all touch-friendly, swipe-friendly, and it shows me as a site manager or an approving manager the invoices that I've got available that need to be approved. Now, when I approve it, it does kick off different workflows behind the scenes to make sure that I'm not approving something that I don't have the delegated financial authority to approve, or perhaps it needs to go to a particular person because it's a particular type of product or service that needs someone different to approve it. Me as the site manager, I don't need to worry about any of those things. I just approve or just decline it as appropriate. So requesting a purchase order, a lot of the projects that Calder Stewart work on, they receive fines if they don't meet certain deadlines or milestones in the project plan. So having products and services delivered on time is of critical importance, and they can't get those things delivered unless they've got a purchase order in place for most of their suppliers. So this again gives this idea of being able to very quickly request a purchase order and behind the scenes AX doing the hard work to send in a request for a purchase order to the right person, get it approved really quickly so those products and services can arrive on time. So when those products and services arrive, generally they need receipting, and if we can think back to that construction site, and I guess these ones over here, you know, if I arrive with my 400 light bulbs, they can very, very easily go missing, or I may not even know that they have arrived. So this solution here allows us to scan a QR code or a packing slip so that we not only know when they arrived and where they are, but also what condition those products were in, because it might be that they were damaged within transit, again causing a delay. Now this is my personal favourite, so this went live with Calder Stewart on Monday. So again, with concrete and all sorts of things over my fingers, we didn't want a touch-friendly system. We needed something that was very, very simple for site workers to manage when they were going on and off site and on and off on their breaks. So 18 months ago, this would have been a hugely expensive process or project to go through. Now, with Azure Cognitive Services, this is something that is almost becoming mainstream. So we have the technology available so that if I'm a site worker, I come on site and using my face, it will add or it will let me go in or clock me out at the end of the day. It's even smart enough that if I'm growing a hipster beard, which I'm personally not doing, but I can see some in the back, might be, it actually realises that and knows that I'm growing that beard, so it's smart enough to not decline me from entering. So pretty cool technology, and you know, this is really changing the way that they work, because previously it was a very manual paper-based system.
I think we had an update that they had 100% success.
100% success.
With tenants using this technology this week, so that's really.
We weren't sure how it would work with glasses and things like
yeah.
that, but it's worked perfectly, so they're really thrilled, and so are we. We're just getting a bit short on time, so I'll just quickly talk about this one. This here, all those site apps come together in this idea of a digital diary. So depending on who I am, the touch-friendly tools linking to all the other different site apps are available in this one space. And again, it's AX and SharePoint and different other technologies behind the scenes.
All right, so we'll just kind of wrap up really. So how do you get started with your digital workspace? So, I mean, I really believe that most of you are probably well on your journey, right? But if you haven't done so, it would be really good to have a bit of a look around your business, right? What are the teams, what are the processes that are struggling a little bit, right? Maybe it's the onboarding process, maybe you've got a team out in the field that could use a bit of help. Have a look at those sort of top 5 or 6 priorities, and then look for some quick wins, and typically with the technology that you already have. So we have a lot of customers that use Office 365, but they're really just using it for email and a little bit of document management, right? But you could really solve some of those pain points really quickly with that technology. And at the same time, it is really important to have that overall plan, right? So quick wins are great, but if you're moving into new markets, offering new products and services, you really need to understand what the digital workspace needs to be over the coming 1 to 2 years to support those initiatives, right? So having that longer view is extremely important. And finally, give Mike a call if you haven't already done so. I think with the exchange rate, he's like $13.50 a month now, I saw. All right, thanks.